Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Hello and welcome to another episode of NSE FinWiz powered by CNBC TV 18 Season 3. This week we're in Bangalore at the office of a company that is enabling businesses to make the best of cloud computing. We're at the office of Oracle. An information-driven enterprise, Oracle Corporation is amongst the world's leading integrated cloud companies. While the company largely builds and develops tools for database development, Oracle Database is ranked the world's #1 enterprise database. NSE FinWiz visited Oracle in Bangalore with the country's finest experts to advise and educate the young employees on investments and financial planning. And we're now joined by our two very special experts. We have Deepak Chhabria, who's the CEO and Director at Axiom Financial Services. Welcome to the show, Deepak. And we have Balaji GK, who's the Executive Director at TradeGenie.com. Welcome to the show, Balaji. And our core topic for this episode today are the fundamentals of personal finance. So, Balaji, let's go to you with my first question. Now, in every aspect of life, in work and everywhere, planning is important. So, obviously, planning is also very important in personal finance. But what are the hurdles? Why do people not give so much importance, so much time to planning their own personal finances? What happens there?
Yes. Good afternoon. I think it's an important topic, and as well the important point that most people miss here is that they possibly don't allocate the time to just review and take a view on the exact stage of planning. Today, a lot of surfeit of information is available in the channels as well as in the media, but still then there has to be a little bit of the homework that the person has to do. So where do I stand by my income? Where do I stand by my spend? Where do I stand on my savings? And typically, we take the shortest and the immediate goals into the markets and try to do that rather than taking the longest goal that is to be done first. So generally, people look at the immediate requirements like I'll buy a house or a car, but forget that the first thing you need to plan is your nest egg, that's the retirement, and maybe the important crucial part like an insurance that you need to do it, because that's when possibly you stop getting the income into your family if there is an eventuality. So all this takes a little bit of homework to be done before we start, but we say that let the D-Day come, let me do that. And many of them feel that let me get into a stage of a better earning stage, and I need to have substantial money in my pocket before I even think to plan.
So if I can ask you, what would, if you start listing top priority-wise for personal finances, what would be like the top? Insurance and then moving, like life insurance and then moving down would be what? What would be maybe the top 5 things?
That's right, yes. I would say first insurance, but I would say the insurance has to be understood in the right tone, in the sense that insurance is against any liability that you might have, or possibly if you have a forsaking that income that you already having to the family, if it stops. So that's very critical.
No, but what I would I mean, if we can make it like simple for them. So definitely have like a life insurance first, then look towards, I mean, getting your own home, or how would that
I would say that you need to plan for retirement savings right now. That's very, very important.
Start really
is what
early
we
on
say.
that.
Because we think it's too far to reach, but it's better to start now. Then comes the other priorities.
So Deepak, let's talk about this retirement saving. Balaji also said, which is very true, and I'm sure you've also seen this in your experiences. When we start earning or when we're young, we won't think about retirement. This generation has become that instant generation. I mean, the 2-minute noodles is not available anymore, but we all want our 2 minutes of quick gains from personal finance. But how do you help people when they want to come and they say, you know, short-term, mid-term, long-term goal? Because it's damn overwhelming.
Let me tell you, Subir. Firstly, that investing is not a matter of choice anymore. It is a necessity. If you want to preserve your today's lifestyle for future, if you want to protect the purchasing power of money, you should start investing as early as possible. The right time to start investing is the day your first paycheck hits your bank account. Now, I'll just give you a simple example, and I think the audience will understand. Now, let us look at a person who is 25 years old and decides to start saving immediately for retirement, and there is a goal 35 years away. And let's look at a 1 lakh per annum at the rate of 12%. The person will be able to accumulate 4.8 crores at the age of 60.
Okay.
But there is another.
So for 35 years, every year 1 lakh
at the rate of 12% compounded.
Okay.
There is a person who delays it by 5 years, starts at the age 30. The same person will be able to accumulate only 2.7 crores.
Almost half.
Half, 60%.
Right.
The difference is only 5 lakh, but compounding magic is gone. And let's look at a third person who starts at age 35, same 1 lakh, same 12%, but the time is reduced to 25 years, and the same person will be able to accumulate only 1.49 crores.
Right.
So there is a huge impact that the compounding plays. Yeah. So what one should do is one should start as early as possible, list out the goals, and link the goals, or rather anchor the saving to the goal.
Yeah.
So once you have anchored yourself to a goal, your chances of staying course are very high.
Debojit Das, he says, there is a school of thought that insurance should be kept separate from investments. What's your view on this?
Yeah, I think I am all for it. Insurance should be kept separate from the investment. For insurance needs, term insurance products are the best suitable. They're very cost effective, and you can align it to your exact needs, while investment should be in the products that are a lot more flexible, are also tax efficient, and you have a bigger control. I think the issue with bundling investment and insurance is that in case your insurance product, if it is a unit-linked plan, does not perform well, then if you exit, you are also destroying the term assurance part of it. But if you segregate it and the investment product, whether it's a mutual fund or anything, is not doing well, you have an option to change your service provider. And in case of traditional plans, the returns are very poor, and the returns considering inflation in traditional plans are generally negative.
On that note, it's time for a very short break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18, Season 3. Welcome back. You're watching NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18, Season 3. I have two very special guests with me, Deepak Chhabaria and Balaji GK. I want to now go more into the depths of personal finance. Balaji, let's start with insurance. Since you, at the beginning, said insurance is really important. Let's talk life insurance. When we talk insurance, and Deepak also spoke about it in the question, but a lot of people come up to me at times and say, why can't I just do a ULIP? Why should I do a term? Because at the end of the day, term is, if I don't die, that money is with the insurance company. I don't get it back.
Correct.
At least with ULIP, I'll get something, and my investments and insurance is happening together.
Sure.
What's your advice on that?
I think the standpoint with any advisor would say in this current generation is go with a term plan, never mix it with the ULIP. The fact remains that you need to cover yourself against any eventuality which a term plan would take care. And if you think a ULIP would always give you back money, it is that money that has been taken from you is always given back to you. So you would have paid it in the form of some premium or the other, which would have come back to you, and you don't need a unit separately to be giving back anything extra. What they do internally is that some of the gains that you get in a units get neutralized to take care of the premium, and generally gets a little myopic or very short-sighted to know that you are not really paying for it. But actually the units gets cancelled, and then it continues to be paid for the premium for the life as well.
Okay.
So literally you are paying it.
We have the ETF as well. When exactly I'm talking about mutual funds, I have the entry load and exit load. So where exactly it costs to my particular investment. When I'm going and investing in ETFs, normally like from last 5 years, Though when exactly ETF is introduced, I started doing it only investing on ETFs, and whenever market is low and whenever market is up, like actually I'll just sell it off, and just working around like as much as possible. So which one is better, like in terms of the investment standpoint?
I think ETF is definitely the first starting point for many investors who are trying to get into the markets, because the first thing, it's a index-based product. Right. So you are not trying to be allowing the fund manager to be active on the stock picking. Right. So the best thing to start is an ETF. Save except for the word that you use, that is the cost. I would say cost-wise, a mutual fund is also pretty much the same. There is an expense ratio that is running, and ETFs can be at sometimes a discount or also at a premium to the actual NAV that it can trade, right? The choice by which you should choose, I would say, is trying to take the most performance-oriented scheme is something like an index-based ETF as a starting point. But if you look at the last 20 years performance that I was saying, funds have definitely outperformed even ETF. But from the taxation point of view, from the final objective of getting a good lump sum and create a good corpus, both would help you achieve that. A matter of a percent here and there, and 3 or 4% is what you can see between ETF and the normal funds. I don't think that is wrong, because the end hindsight, you can only say which is done better. But if you were to correlate to the US markets, ETFs have done much better than the funds itself in the US markets. So we are a maturing and a growing market. I would say that the funds will continue to outperform even the ETF in Indian market.
I have a question, like if a person has missed out their investment during their first few years of the early years of their job, and they want to cover up, not like cover up in 1 year or 2 year, or like they have something in their mind that okay, after 2 years or 3 years, I can somehow cover up the gap which I missed earlier. Are mutual funds answer to that cover up, or is it still a risk?
Deepak, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. I think it's perfectly all right if there is a delay in starting. You can definitely cover it up. Only thing is that normally what you would have invested in this case, you will have to allocate or rather invest a little bigger amount. So it all depends on what exactly you were saving for, what you were targeting the total outcome, that what was the sum that you were trying to save. So one has to calculate and see what is the shortfall in that sum and what is the additional amount required for you to make it up for that shortfall. So there is absolutely nothing that if you have missed a couple of years, then it's totally lost. No, one can make it. It always happens. There are situations in an investor's life when there is an emergency and you cannot invest for a particular period. So there is a time available for you to make it up. So there is nothing lost about it. Definitely you can use a mutual fund. There are various products available to make it up, and it's easily done.
Once you're traveling across the world, okay, either be it your insurance, investments, I understand, it continues on. But then if you end up sticking into one particular country and live long, and probably you settle down there, how is it going to impact your investments? And won't it end up in duplicacies?
Yeah, see, now there are two issues. One is that if you're traveling and you want to return in a couple of years, and if you've gone on an assignment, so the insurance that you have taken in India would remain valid because you took it when you were in India. But if you're planning to settle down over there, then there is a duplication. Then you will be paying a premium of the insurance that you have taken over here, and also, as you said, there is a compulsory deduction or something. So that you have to decide based on the disposable income. What is important is to first decide whether you want to stay over there or it's a temporary arrangement for 3 years or a 5 years. Because if it is a temporary arrangement, it's better not to disturb, because when you come back, you would have added 4 or 5 years to your life, and probably in case there is any health issue, then it will be difficult for you to get the insurance at the same cost.
On that note, it's time for a very short break. You're watching NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18 Season 3. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching NSE FinWiz powered by CNBC TV 18 Season 3, and today we're at the office of Oracle in Bangalore.
See, assuming I have accumulated a lump sum towards the end, retirement, so which is the, see, afterwards I need to get a monthly income. So which is the best option among the two? Systematic withdrawal plan of debt funds or dividend option of monthly income plans?
So firstly, you have already decided that it is going to be a debt fund or a MIP.
Yes, a debt.
Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. See, the systematic withdrawal plan of a debt fund is more tax efficient than a dividend from a monthly income plan. The dividend from a monthly income plan is subject to dividend distribution tax.
Okay.
So the dividend quantum in your hand will be much less than vis-a-vis systematic withdrawal plan from a debt fund. It's a lot more tax efficient. And if you start withdrawing after you have accumulated in a debt fund for a 3-year period, that is if you have held on for 3 year and more, then the capital gain on that also would be hardly anything. It will be negligible. So that would be a better option.
I have a home loan and there is an outstanding amount that is yet to be paid. So my question is, if I have some amount in my savings account, is it a better option to prepay the loan amount or invest the same in some equities, because I'm assured of an higher returns in the equity side, and also I can keep my home loan open so that I can use it as a tax for tax benefits. So what do I do in such a case?
I think it's a fair option to look at closing the loan in case, a partial closure or prepayment, provided you are not losing out on the tax benefits. For example, in a self-occupied house, let's say you have a tax benefit up to certain level. If in case you have exceeded that sort of thing and still you have a lot of room for that, then partial closure will help you, because you may not still lose all the minimum benefits. But in case you are just at the threshold level of using the actual self-occupied house loan amount and you are getting the tax benefit, then if you repay, then you possibly lose out the tax benefit. So if tax benefit is not an issue in that case, then you are generally good enough to pay. But the other point is investment oriented and opportunity based investment thing that you are talking about, that what if I repay the loan, that means you are actually paying off something at 10%, whereas when you say I'm going to invest, you are possibly looking at 12-15%. So there is an arbitrage, or the other way is something like you want to invest or use that money to invest. So that is a call definitely you can take if in case the money is surplus for you and you don't mind doing that.
My question is, say by nature India always considered as moderate risk taking nation. So if you take that as a belief, there is a huge potential for bond market and bond investment. But unfortunately, if you consider the current status of bond market, we are still at the lower end compared to other developed nations. My question is, why government is not taking, or government, RBI or SEBI not taking sufficient measure to develop these bond market to match the international standard? Or else are they taking any measures which we are not aware of?
It's an excellent question. Globally, the fixed income market is many times bigger than the equity market. It's reverse in India. People dabble more in equity than fixed income, and by nature we Indians are risk averse. You said we are moderate risk taking country. Actually we are low risk taking country, because if you look at most of the money is either in a bank deposit or in a gold or in a real estate. Now there is a debt market. It has evolved over the years. It has developed, but at the moment it is in the hands of the institutions. We don't have retail participation, unlike in other countries where retail investors can go and buy. The reason is that if you are investing through a mutual fund, it's a pass-through vehicle, so there is a tax advantage in it. The returns coming in from mutual funds are tax efficient, while if you buy and sell bonds on your own, there is a tax payment involved in that. So that is the reason why it has not developed. And also the size involved at the moment is very large. But I'm very confident in years you will see that. If you look at the tax-free bonds issues which have been coming from last 3 years, they are being actively traded today on the exchange platforms. Many retail investors are buying and selling those bonds. So I think over a period it will develop. There are many companies which have lined up bond issues in coming months, and this market will develop. I'm sure this market has got a great future, because fixed income market has to be the core. We can't force people to go to equity.
Gentlemen, that's about all the time we have. Thank you so much, Deepak. Thank you so much, Balaji, for having us been here. Thank you so much for having us here.
It's very knowledgeable, this session was. And the main thing was how Deepak said us that we have to start investing at the earlier stage. Being in this company for 3 years, I have not started really saving, but I think now is the time I'm gonna start for sure. Thank you so much for the session.
Session was quite informative for me because as they said that you need to start early. I'm in the early start of my career. I'm an HR consultant and I've been here 3 years. So I think that over the span of 3 years, I've done some savings, but I didn't know where to informatively put those savings up. So now I know that I have so many options out there, and it really helped me, and it was an educative show and helped me learn a lot about the financial sector.
Well, that's all on this episode of NSE FinWiz, powered by CNBC TV 18 Season 3. But before we go, here's a chance for you to win an exciting goodie bag by answering this viewer question. If I have just started working, the first thing I should do is build up an emergency fund account, start a savings account, shop for office clothes, set aside money for my dream vacation. Send in your answers at fwq@network18online.com. We'll see you next week from another city with another set of young employees. Until then, from the entire team, many thanks for watching.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.